Welcome to how to increase your turnover and profit as a children's activity entrepreneur. Welcome to our masterclass. My name is Katie Cannon, founder of Gold Medal Business and 5 times British gymnastics champion. Now, I've been in this industry for over 20 years of, you name it, I've done it in this industry. I have done the leisure centres, I've done the schools, I've done the growing the gyms, the studios, the franchise models, you name it. I've had so much different experience in this industry. And I love to start with that because if you're like me, I love to know who I'm learning from, basically. I want to know exactly how I can learn from them, their previous experience, and if it's something that's going to really support and help me. So I love to share that because not only have I been in this industry for over 20 years, I'm also still in it. So very much, and I love to share this with our community, very much what I'm learning on a day-to-day is still fresh, it's still new. It's very much like all that 20 years of experience plus all in the trenches with you on a day-to-day basis of what's working, what's not, what's tweaking, what's changing, what's the best method for this, what's the best method for that. And I love to share that with you because everything we coach at Gold Medal Business is from an authentic place in terms of what's working now as opposed to what worked 20 years ago. So my focus for us today is to really focus on how to increase turnover and profit as a children's activity entrepreneur. And I'm going to go through different ways. Some of this you may have heard before, but I want you to really think from an aspect of how can this really support you to grow your activity business? How can it really turn, literally turn your turnover? How can it really start to increase your profits? Because we've all heard many different ways and things that I'm going to say today. But I want you to think the smallest of changes on which we're going to go through together, the smallest of changes can make the biggest results. And when you're looking at turnover and profit, yes, you would like to see a massive change. And you might say, I want to increase my turnover by 100,000 this year. Of course, that would be wonderful. But I don't want you to miss the small increments that can happen as a result of making these small changes that I'm going to share with you. For you to really see, often sometimes say, I can't afford a new member of staff in that department. I would like to put an extra £1,000 away each month into our emergency account so we can start saving for that next level in our business. So we can make sure we have a contingency fund. When you're looking at small increments, it's a little bit like when you start saving and you might put 20 quid away into a bank account. Little did you know that 20 quid every month, over the course of 5 years is going to make a difference. So I want you to really think of the same concept when we're training today, because whenever you're building your business, your success is built in daily small increments. It's not built in massive decisions. It's not built in the massive day-to-day things that happen. It's the small consistencies of day-to-day, which we've all heard before, of the power of consistency. So when you're doing these things on a day-to-day basis, week to week, month to month, term to term, month, year to year, the small of, making a small tweak here, making a change here may bring an extra 2,000 into your business that month. It may bring an extra 1,000, but you're doing that consistently. That all adds up to then in turn increase your turnover and your profit. As I said, so many times people get so overwhelmed and they're thinking, I want to increase my business by like 100,000. How do I do it? And you're starting with too big a goal. We need to chunk that right down into what it looks like on a day-to-day basis in your business. So the first thing I'm going to talk to you about today is very much looking at your business and thinking, where can you make some small adjustments? And we're going to start today with looking at what is working. So I want you to look at your current timetable. Now, if you're brand new to business, excellent, because you can build this into your programs and build this into your knowledge as you're growing. If you're established and you have a full grown timetable, I want you to look at it properly and go, right, what's working and what's not? So I want you now, as we are literally doing this training, I want you to look at the classes that you are running. You will have a gut feeling. We all know kind of what's working, what's not. You'll know the empty classes and the most popular ones. Most popular being always that 10 o'clock on a Saturday morning or a Sunday class. Your weekends are always going to be more popular. But I want you to do an assessment of your whole timetable. I want you to look at what is always full and put a big tick by that. Fantastic. What is always full? You don't need to touch that. We don't need to do anything different. Just leave it be. So put a big tick, circle it, highlight it, however you like to do your planning. But I want you to put a big tick. What classes are always full? Amazing. We don't touch them. I then want you to look at what classes are kind of a bit half and half. Sometimes they're full. Sometimes they're kind of like, you know, you might have a good run of it for a couple of months and then they're kind of a bit low. So you're going to put them, maybe use a color coordinator, put yellow for always full, or traffic light system, green because they're always going, they're always good to go, orange for amber, so orangey for kind of like half and half. And then you're going to save red for your classes that when you look at your schedule, you know they're always your quieter ones. We all have them. So I want you to know, no matter what level of your business, and this is why I teach entrepreneurs just like you to not work at 100%. 100% sounds fabulous, but don't work at 100% because it's very hard in your model to get every single class 100% full. It's really hard because there will always be a class that, quite frankly, is the one that maybe is not the popular time of the week, that you always have a few coming and going, and it may be 90% full. So know that you'll never, and if you do, amazing, but especially if you've got 2 or 3 classes running a week, you're probably going to have them all full. Talking if you've got a full schedule of classes, if you run your own gym, your own studio, you've got a sports center from Monday to Sunday, you're going to have some classes that no matter what you do, there will always be maybe not the most popular time. Then no matter what you do, everybody always wants that particular class on a Friday and Saturday, and they can't have because it's too busy. So you're trying to get them in that Monday at 4 o'clock, you know? So I'm going to give you some ideas here. So once you've looked at and you've used the traffic light system, you've identified what's working, not going to touch it. Amber, could do a little bit there. Where are your red spots? What are the classes that are always needing a little bit of a push? They're always kind of like maybe 30% full, because reality is they're costing you money. So we need to make a system to make sure we start to tweak that and change that for you to move you forward. So you're not having that. Now, if a class, if you've got, this is slightly different what I'm going to share with you. So if you've got a premises that you pay exactly the same amount for, whether the class runs or not, you've got a coach that's on the salary. So again, you pay the same amount whether they run that class or not. You can either be more creative. If you decide to take that class that's not working off the schedule and add them somewhere else, you could be more creative and more valuable with their time. But when you have a full schedule and you own, you lease a premises, you have a little bit more give with some classes that may not be taking off, because whether you run it or not, you're still paying the same rent. But I want you to pay so much attention to this, especially if you're paying per hour. Okay, if you're paying per hour in a sports hall, a school, a village hall, wherever it may be, this is where I want you to pay so close attention, because you don't want 20 quid going out the door for an hour for a class when you've got 20-30% full in the class. You're not making money. So once you've established your traffic light system and you know what's working, I then want you to look at your red classes, and I want you to implement a discount system. Now, I don't promote discounts that often. I'm not one to be like, discount your classes all the time. This is a one-time offer. And this is only for select classes. You will have a select few. There may be 3 or 4, maybe 2 or 3, depending how big you are. But I want you to offer your members this discount to encourage them and entice them to fill up these particular classes. So, for example, if you're speaking with a parent and your sales team is speaking to a parent and they want that Saturday at 10 o'clock. Now, you know, they're a working parent, and maybe they've told you getting there in the week is not impossible, but it's harder. They would like that Saturday morning. Now, you can say to them, look, I can absolutely put you on the waiting list for the Saturday morning, but I've got a really great class, which is at 4 p.m. on a Monday. You don't tell them why it's discounted. You don't have to. And you just say, we're running a special offer on this class at the minute, that if you enroll before, give them a deadline. Do not say in the next 6 months. If you enroll before the end of July, you receive it 50% off. So instead of the membership being, say, £50 a month, you get it for 25. Now, that is a really good offer. That's a really good incentive. You know, someone that may be struggling a little bit financially, that may be thinking, do you know what? I could leave early on a Monday and just do the work in the evening. I'm saving myself 25 quid a month by them not going on a Saturday morning. So offer them a discount on the class, because at the end of the day, that class is half empty. You taking half monthly fees, you're still going to benefit, entice them into another class and avoid them being on a waiting list. Really important. You don't want people just sitting on waiting lists doing nothing. I'm going to cover waiting lists later, but you don't want them sitting on waiting lists for like months and months and months and months and months and end on end. And I often get asked, how can I maximize my waiting list, Katie? I'm going to talk about that, so do not worry. But you want to keep them enticed. You're much better taking 50% than them be now in the next couple of weeks and having them in your organization paying monthly, rather than sitting on a waiting list for 6 months with nothing coming in. So often I get asked, sometimes the questions are, but Katie, why should I discount when the money's going to come in anyway? Now, cash flow is king in your business. Always keep that top and forefront of your mind. But at the minute, you don't want to leave them to make a decision. You don't want them to go elsewhere. You don't want to risk the yes, you're going to take half price, but they're just going to be sitting on a waiting list or going somewhere else. You don't want to risk that. A bit like when you might discount holiday camps, 30% summer early bird offer. Again, you want the income now. You don't want to wait 6 weeks. Cash flow's king. It needs to be going through your business. If you wait till 6 weeks, you think, well, of course they're joining on the 20th of July. They might not. Never presume. That may be the offer that tips them over the edge. So first and foremost, to increase your turnover and profit as an entrepreneur, number one, I always want you to be looking at what is working in your current schedule at this time. So first of all, what is working? We're now going to move on to making sure the timetable is working for you. So once you've established what's working, what's not, and where you're going to put in the discounts, I then want you to look at the timetable, okay? So often we will see a timetable that isn't working for the business owner, but it's working for the instructors, because you've got those beautiful, amazing instructors that you're like, and teachers that you don't, oh, but they do university on a Monday night. Oh, they teach hip hop. They can only do it on a Wednesday and a Thursday. Yeah, it doesn't really work. It doesn't really work for me, that because we only have a Thursday class for 1 hour. It means we've got to open up just for that one class. And yet you can see it's train of thought, okay? Before you know it, again, done this mistake many times. You've opened up a facility. Let's say your day of the week that you close is, let's say, a Thursday, because you're open on weekends. Thursday is the center is closed, or you cannot use your facility on a Thursday. Now you end up opening for one class, heating, electrics, bills. Again, the center's open, another brain ache. You're always thinking about it. You've opened up especially for that one teacher who could teach at 4 p.m. because that's the day that they can teach. Now, you don't know what's going to happen around the corner. You don't know if they're still going to be with you in 6 months. So I want you to always make sure your timetable is working for you. It's not working for anybody else. It's working for you. It's working for what is working with financially for your studio. What makes more sense within putting certain classes together. And then you insert the teachers and the instructors. And if they can't do it, they can't do it. You don't try to, if you try to work, it's like when you have a complaint from a parent, right? And you like, you know what? I've had 2 complaints about this. I'm going to change it. I'm going to change it because we can't afford to have it anymore. Now, 2 complaints, that's their opinion. You get 10 or 15 complaints about the same thing. We need to change things. Use the same with instructors. If they really want to teach at your classes, they may move a few things around themselves, or especially their schedule may change in 4 months' time. So in 4 months' time, they may actually be able to do the class on your schedule. So always make sure you're making it work for you, and you're making it work for yourself in terms of a financial level, and you're not just having, otherwise you end up with a business that has classes everywhere and nothing makes sense. So I want you, with it, when you're doing your timetable, make it work for you. I then want you to look at, having non-specific teachers. So very much, especially let's take dance, for example, you can end up with different teachers in all different genres. Now, I want you to make sure that when you do something, and I'll tell you a story, I was sharing this with my community a couple of months ago, but we thought within my gyms to do circus classes. We thought that'd be a really good idea to do some circus classes. Now, because I had a really good teacher on a Sunday that was really good at teaching. She was at circus school. So I thought, great, perfect. We can really maximize her skills. I had no clue. A lot of my team had no clue how to teach circus skills, but we thought we'd explore it. So we asked her, and she was quite confident to do the class. And we didn't go too far into it, but we started putting some more thinking power behind it. 4 weeks later, this person left. Now, we hadn't started it on the schedule, but that proved to me, and I said, it just goes to show none of us in this organization are confident at teaching that. That would have been a cancelled class. It would have even got up and running. So I really want you to think about, when you're thinking about increasing turnover and profit, and you're looking at your timetable, I really want you to think about, is this duplicatable? Can I scale this? Have I got other teachers in my organization that either know how to teach this, or I can train to teach this? Really, really important. Because yes, it's really good to have such a niche area and provide something that, quite frankly, nobody is providing. But what you don't want to provide is a service that nobody else can cover apart from that one person. A really good way to do this is to see if, look at your whole area. Look at like what people are searching for job related. Put your job title, circus acrobat teacher, into Indeed, into Google, see what comes up. It will give you a really good idea on what's out there and what's not. Who's looking for what? What's the demand for that? So have a little look at that first. Then I also want, within your timetable, when you've looked at really what making it work for you, making sure you haven't got really specific teachers, is just to do a little bit of research. So there's no point when you're planning out your schedule, and your schedule may change every term. It may change, it may stay the same for years on end, and you're just tweaking and adding extras. Everybody works slightly different within this industry, whether you're termly or you're monthly. But when you're doing your research, whether you're a parent or not a parent, there's so much resources at your convenience that you can dig into and ask. Have a look in your local area. Look on school websites. What time do schools open and close? What local activities in your area? Again, this is a good one for the parents. For example, I had a client who, in her local area, it's quite villagey. all the children were swimming on Tuesdays and Wednesdays, it seemed, because there was a lot of competitions that were going on and swim meets and so forth. So she knew that a lot, it was quite villagey. Like I said, it was a small, if you're in a town, you won't have this issue, but she knew a lot of her clientele that were doing that also wanted to come to her studio. And so she just tweaked it around to make sure that she knew the research. So she made sure on those particular Tuesdays and Wednesdays, she put on classes that she knew the people that were swimming would not be interested in. So it didn't conflict. Therefore, she knew that they were always doing their swimming around that sort of time. They were likely to come to her on the other days. So know your research. For example, with a preschool program, you're not going to put a class on for a 1-year-old at midday at 12 o'clock because they're likely to be sleeping or having their lunch. But putting it on at, say, 10:30 or even sort of 2 o'clock, perfect timing for them. So know your market. There's no excuse in today's, with the resources we have at our fingertips, there is no excuse for not doing your research and not knowing your local market. Super easy to find out. Really, look at when they're going on holiday. Look at when maybe there's teacher strikes. Look at when, a lot of the people that come and shoot, are they all working families? Are they looking for something, is there a reason your weekend classes are so full? Is because they're all working full time. So you can really do as little or as much research as you want. It is completely up to you. Okay. So you have got research at your fingertips to make sure when you're planning your timetable, as I said, you want to make it work for you as a business. Really important, and not go on through instructors and teachers and ask them for their advice, but also at the same time make it work for you as a business in terms of your research. So literally don't do a schedule and go, well, Katie's told me I need to make it work for me, and I'm not on this day, and I'm closing at this time, and I don't do a class here, it's not going to work. But if it works for your market and if it works for the people coming to you, then please, please, please make sure you do your research and you make it work, because otherwise you're going to create a schedule that doesn't work with the community and then your numbers are low. Okay, so I hope you're all still awake and with me. Put a message in the chat box for me on what's sticking out for you so far, what is really resonating, and what is really kind of setting the bar, and you're thinking, God, it's a new way of thinking. Or we all think of increasing profit and turnover is all just about get more bodies through the door, get more children through the door. Yes, it is. Of course, that makes more money and cash flow in your business. But these are all small tweaks that all make such a difference for you. Okay, so we're now going to move on to empty space. So once you've done your timetable, so notice these are building on each other. First of all, we're looking at what's working. So you can do a general overview of what's working. Then we're moving on to building out your timetable. So you can really start planning out. Now you've built your timetable. So we're now going to look at empty space. So when you're looking at your timetable, and again, every venue is different. So I'm going to give you some ideas to look into this. Now, sometimes you may have gaps in between your classes. I remember we worked to this model many years ago because we were in rented space. So if you're in a village hall, leisure centre, there may, there may be a reason why you have to work with a gap in between, maybe due to parking, maybe due to the corridor and the entrances and the structure of the building. But if you don't, I recommend you work back-to-back classes. The reason why, when you're doing back-to-back classes, you're going to eliminate the amount, again, you're going to increase your profit here because you've eliminated empty space used. So if you've got a class that's running 4 till 5, 5:15 to 6:15, and 6:30 to 7:30, you've paid, if you're in rented space, you're paying an extra half an hour for those 15 minutes where no money's coming through the door. Yes, it might make changeover better, but can you be more resourceful with your team and your staff? Could you have, I remember at one of our venues once, we had someone dismissing and someone bringing new children in. So it was like that. It was like a changeover. Because every time you stop, I hated those 15-minute breaks Often it's always about 15 minutes because people don't always like to work classes at like 5 past the hour or 10 minutes. It's always like quarter past. And you end up with that empty space. You're paying staff for those time. That's extra money coming out. And you're paying more rented space with it. And you're there longer. So back to back your classes and eliminate any 15-minute gaps where you can. I also want you to look, if they're 15 minutes, they might be longer. I hope they're not longer than 15 minutes. But even a 5-minute break, eliminate it, because that accumulated. I remember when we were I was looking at one of my mentees, and we were doing a one-to-one coaching session. And I actually when I broke it down across the week, they had their main leisure centre for the whole of the week. We literally saved them from breaks in the week. Excuse me, lipstick on my teeth there. From breaks in the week, we saved them. It was literally about 10 to 12 hours across the week. They had preschool going in the day. They were going all the way up to Sunday, Monday to Sunday. There's a lot of classes going on. And they had 15 minutes here, 15 minutes there. And when I added up, I thought, do you realize you're paying for an extra 10 hours of space here that you don't need to be paying for? Or get some more classes in them. So really make sure, make your classes back to back. I'd rather you be maximizing your team in a better way. Cut out the gaps. And then I want you to look at your setup. How much time, again, very relevant. If it's your own building, you will have very little setup. But if it's rented space, equipment setup, making sure you're not over allowing. So if you've got a venue and you're thinking you're allowing half an hour for all the equipment to get out, analyze that. Look back at it. Look back at that and think, do we really need all of this time? Can my team do it quicker? Can we find a better way? Can I help them find a better way? So when you've done that, you can often save yourself. Let's say you're paying rent of like $2,000 a month on rented space for hourly classes. You could easily, as I said, decrease that by 10, 20% easily by making these changes. And I said, if you pay a set amount, that's where you can increase more profit by adding in more. You're paying the same amount, but add more classes in, add more services in. That is how you then start to really fine tune your model. So there is no empty space. Okay. So we've covered so far what is working in your business, looking at your timetable, empty space, and making sure we cover all of the boundaries there. I then want you to then look at where can we increase the amount people are spending with you. So yes, front end marketing, new clients coming through the door, super valuable. But there's often, again, a good 20, 30% more income we can pull from the current model when we look at things like adding extra classes in, increasing durations, and increasing prices without bringing anyone through the door. Now, this is where you can get really creative. If you're at that point and you're struggling and you're really thinking, I would love a new admin person. I need help with this role. Great, let's create it. Remember, you're an entrepreneur. You're solution driven. If there's a challenge, wicked, solve it. That's your job as an entrepreneur. Yeah, that's your main job as an entrepreneur. Solve a challenge. So when there's challenges coming up left, right, and center, amazing. That's what I want to hear. I want to hear they're coming up all the time, because that's your job. You're battling your way through challenges all the time, because that's what creates a better entrepreneur, a better leader, and a better business. So when you're looking at your classes, I want you to look at where can you make some small price increases? Because like I just said, if you need a new team member and you may need them 3 days a week and it's £500 a month, create it, find that solution. It's not impossible. Where can we find more income in your current existing business model that can pay for that new person to support you? So look at where can you make some small price changes? When was the last time you did a price increase? If it was last week, maybe leave this one. Yeah, give it another 6 months. But I recommend you do one a year. I've seen some people do 2 a year. but making it in much smaller increments. Personally, I like one a year, but make it slightly bigger, because parents much prefer to think, okay, that when you raise them too often, we all know what happens. It's like they're raising their prices again. So I'd recommend a bigger increment, but once a year. And kind of, you could do like, you know, say they were paying £54 a month, right? Increasing that to say 58, you've added £4. That's an extra £1 a week. It's basically an extra £1 a session. Again, a bit like we've talked about, making these small increments, they're not big, but they make a big difference to your bottom line. So if you had, say, 450 members, and you increased it by like £1 a week, you've added an extra like £2.5 grand onto your bottom line, depending what you charge, of course. So really have a good look on where you can make some small changes in your pricing structure to make sure it's a lot more beneficial for your cash flow, and it really adds to your bottom line. Excuse me. So price increase. And then want you to look at, once you've really looked at your timetables, you know what's working, you know what you can do more of, what's working, what's not, where's the empty space. I want you to look at thinking, where can you make some classes longer and some classes maybe shorter? So, for example, if you've got beginners, advanced, squads, academies, however you like to call them, and they were maybe all on 1 hour classes, why not make your academies, your squads, your advanced an hour and a half, 2 hours? Again, they're not new client money coming in. You're pulling more income from your current client base. So when you've got that, you can then go, okay, great. So if you can increase those 50 advanced members that you have from £50 an hour class to maybe 65 for 90 minutes, that's a monthly membership, so £65 for the month, for example, that's an extra £15 that you've got from that particular client for the month, with just adding an extra half an hour each week. You do that if you have, say, 20 in the class, it makes a big difference. And you will see that will easily cover any extra rent that needs to be paid, or staffing costs to obviously staff the class and be there for extra class. You do that across your whole pricing model, and mixed with a price increase, you will see that finding that extra 3 or 4,000 in your business per month is super doable without any advertising fees. That's on top of bringing new people in monthly, weekly, daily into your business. So be solution driven. I would recommend that the pricing different structure comes at the same time as increasing your classes, because you don't want to go, one email goes out saying we're increasing our prices, then the next email goes out and says, and your new price is 90 minutes. It's now a 90-minute class instead of this. I would just do one new structure, one email to say we're changing our classes, we're changing the format, and everybody, you know, this will be your new price for your 90-minute class. This will be your new price for your 2-hour class, because it will hide the price increase. They can see it's gone up. You're not hiding anything, but they can see that they're getting more for their money. Because for, you know, a 2-hour class, you're not going to pay, if an hour is £50, you're not going to say, and for 2 hours it's £100. You're going to give them a bit of a discount. So you may say for two hours is normally £100 if you come for us, but for a monthly membership for 2 hours a week, it's going to be £80, 81, £79, whatever you want to say. So you're positioning it that even though your prices have gone up, you're actually providing more value because they're with you for longer. So remember, it's all about how you position it. It's people get so scared about rising prices, making changes. And I want you to get super comfortable with these sort of changes in your model. It's like if you operate on a termly basis at the minute and you're going to go monthly, you will always have someone that's not happy. You will always have someone where that's not really going to work for them. Or, you know, but I want you to really think of business decisions from where you want to be as opposed to where you are. Because that person, that parent who may have an issue today might not even be with you in 12 months' time. So please, a little bit like we were talking about when you're developing your timetable and building it around you, do exactly the same and always keep that in your mind when you're working towards things like making changes. Don't ever be afraid to lose people. People will come and go. Attrition is normal. Believe me, when they are making, plans and thinking we might move house, they're not thinking, oh, but she loves that dance studio. She loves that football academy. We can't move because of that. No, they're thinking about their future. They're thinking about their decisions. This is your business. So think about your business and what you need to do for your business. Okay. So I hope you're with me so far. I hope you're still awake. So we've covered things like what's working to really navigate through your, building out your timetable, to looking at where we can save money in empty spaces, and how to increase prices and levels and so forth. So we're now going to move on to internal and external marketing. Now, your internal and external marketing, I want to briefly touch on this because we all know what external marketing is. So I'm not going to cover that too much. External marketing, anything external from your business. So Facebook, Instagram ads, leafleting, local connections, partnerships, all of that is external marketing. But so often we miss the golden goose, as it were, because we're so caught up. I've done this many a times. You're so caught up on your front end, funnel, as it were, your student enrollment system. You're so caught up in what is coming, how to get clients. If you need further support with that, with literally, please put a chat in the box, just say enrollment. If you haven't got any of that set up, okay, you're so focused. External marketing is all about getting new people through the door that we forget about our wonderful families in our actual classes. Now, we know we're seeing them weekly. We know we're doing the best we can for them and delivering the best service we can. We know all of that. That is perfect, okay? But I don't want you to forget on how powerful internal marketing is when you do it right. Have you ever sent out an email to your email list? Let's say you have 300 members on your database. Sent out that email about summer camps. Oh, everyone's waiting. It's going to be massive. It's going to be great. The email's gone out today to all our 300. A week later, there's no bookings. And you're thinking, I don't get it. They love our classes. They love coming to us. Why are they not booking? I just don't get it. The reality is, you need to treat your internal marketing like you do your external marketing. And you need to treat it like the campaign that it is. So internally, you need to say, let's say you're doing a summer camp. That's a campaign. That's not a few random emails going out. That's a full-on, whoa, let's go for it campaign. And that's why you will hear me, not on this training, but you've heard me talk about when we're promoting holiday camps and learning how to market them. There's a reason. There's a solid reason that I always say, do not go on to holiday camps until you've got your solid marketing system in place for trials, if that's your model. If you started with holiday camps first, don't go on to regular classes till you've got your holiday camp model nailed, because you're going to end up with half empty classes everywhere. And the reason for that is because so many times people think, I'll wing it, I'll whack it on the end and go for it and see what happens. Now, sometimes that works out really well. I've done stuff like that, so I've been surprised myself. But quite often it doesn't, because the marketing, the actions, everything behind it is just not there. So when you're looking at your internal market, and let's say you've got a holiday camp to fill up, you've got a particular workshop to fill up. Let's say you've got a brand new class that you're launching within your lovely new timetable that we've worked on. Within that, you're going to send that as a campaign, not as said just one email. You're going to set up a campaign over like 5 or 6 weeks, letting them know about what's coming, offering early bird discount, offering, getting now, save your seat, whatever. You've got 5 to 6 weeks to warm them up. through texts, through your social media, through your email. Maybe giving them a call as well. You get your sales team, your admin team to call them. Let them know of the changes. Because when you really dig into it like that and treat it like a campaign, your numbers will skyrocket. You will see, let's take Holiday Camp as an example. You will see you go from like maybe 20 members booked in to say 50 or 60, because you're putting in the graft, you're treating it like a campaign, and you're not just relying on, surely they got that one email. And sometimes people will say, Katie, I've sent an email last week. Is it too pushy to send one next week? I'm like, no. Would any business think like that? They're not thinking of you. Their life is busy. By that point, they've probably received hundreds of emails. Yeah, they've received so much. By that point, they don't even know you're doing a summer camp. So 100%, 1 or 2 emails a week about your new service, about your new product, not the same email, jazz it up, testimonials, make it fun, make it about benefits. But it's a campaign. And sometimes people at Gold Medal say, we send quite a lot of emails. We send you probably an email a day. It's business to business. It's slightly different. It's not business to consumer. Your business to consumer. Business to business is slightly different. So maybe not 1 email a day. But there's a reason we do that. And some of the top marketers in the world, of all different businesses that I'm connected with, I get 2 or 3 emails in my inbox a day from them. Why is that? People are busy. You want to be at the top of people's inboxes. I don't want you to forget. If I think something's super valuable for you, I want you not to miss it. We're not going to spam you with random crap. They're going to send you, if you're interested in that particular topic, they're going to want to help and serve you. So always come from that mindset, okay? You're an entrepreneur and a marketeer of your own business. When you get into that mindset of, I don't want to be too pushy, believe me, no business on the planet is ever thinking like that. If it's of value to them and it's your right ideal client, which it is because they're in your database and they're coming to classes, they will thank you. We've had parents that thanked us for, thank you so much that you sent another reminder about that. I've seen it for the last 3 weeks and thought I must do that, and the time never comes. We all know how busy parents are. They might be reading an email while cooking dinner with a toddler at their feet. Yeah, they might be. I think of the amount of times I've had my kids like shouted at me or my kids around me, and I'm thinking, I must do that. I must do that. Does it happen? 5 days later, Katie has done it because the intention wasn't there. I got distracted with family life. So that's your customer. That may be you as well. If you're a parent, we all can relate to that. So when you're communicating internally, think of it exactly like a campaign. Exactly how you would treat it if it's coming off a Facebook ad, but it's for free because they already know about you, which is even better. Okay, so internal marketing is super, super powerful. Wherever you're launching, workshops, holiday camp, new class, whatever it is, make sure they're getting enough communication, because the worst thing, you do not want them to turn around and go, didn't get the email, didn't know about that. And it's so frustrating, isn't it? It's so frustrating when you might hear that 5 or 6 times, because you're thinking that's 5 or 6 customers that I could have had. I had a conversation with a lady the other day, and she said, I'm thinking of shutting my summer camp down. And I said, what? Why? Why? And I said, talk me through your marketing. And there had been 1 email out, 1 or 2. And it was still had a good 6 weeks left. And I said, no. Push. Create a campaign and actually market it properly, like it's a business. Market it properly, like you want that income stream to succeed. Not just give it a go, you just see how it goes. I don't really care if it works or not. If it really doesn't, just do it. We'll just close it down. That's not an option. Closing the camp down, not starting the new class, not an option. Take yourself out of that. Don't give yourself the easy road. Give it with all your might. And at the end of that 6-week campaign, and if you haven't got the numbers or it's not working, you can address the situation there, find another solution. But at least you set it up properly and you went for it properly, rather than half-hearted effort. Okay, so we talked about, I said, what's working, your timetable, empty space, your levels, internal and external markets. So I now want to finish on how to how to pay your staff. So this links very nicely to what we were talking about in terms of empty space and levels. All of this, when you're working out your timetable and you really create that rock star timetable that can not only work for you as a business, you as an individual, your finances, but also your team. Always be thinking, because what can happen in the children's activity market, I hear a lot, it's how do I keep my team? I have a fast turnover. And often the reason is that you haven't got enough work in one location for them. They're being sent all over the place. They might have an hour here, 3 hours here, 2 hours there, 1 hour there. Now, some models, you can't change that. But some models in this industry, you can. So always be looking at, where can I maximize my team? Where can I maximize where I send them and get, let's say you've got Billy, right? Billy is an amazing member of your team. You love Billy. He's great. He's reliable. Everyone loves him. Teachers love him. Kids love him. Parents love him. Billy's amazing. Billy currently does 8 hours a week for you, but Billy wants more. Billy wants to be a full-time member of your team. How can you maximize Billy's schedule? Do you want to always, like I said, you don't want to be bending over backwards for your team, but if you notice potential, you want to see, how can you give Billy more hours? So by making the changes that we've talked through with your levels, blocking out times that are invalid in your schedule, back-to-back classes, adding new classes, that in turn is going to give Billy more work in the long run. And when you're communicating this with your team and especially your best members of the team that you absolutely adore and don't want to lose, they know that you're thinking of them. They know that there's a solution. They know you're getting more hours in line for them. So whenever you're making any of these changes, always have your team at the forefront of, how can I create better packages for my staff? How can I create better options where they're in one location for more? If you could offer them Saturday work from 9 till 5, it gets snapped up like this. But you offer them a 4 till 5:30 on a Wednesday night, you end up paying more, because the less time they're there, the more you end up paying, because they want very much that hourly mindset. But when you can give them more of a chunk of hours, that's when you can really turn a self-employed person into an employed person, which will give you more money for your hour, because whenever you're paying anyone on an hourly basis, it is expensive. So you want to try and turn the ones that want more hours into more salary-based positions. It also covers you. I'm not a tax expert, but it will also cover you from a tax expert in terms of making sure if they're working in one location and just for you, they're employed. So there are, always I say, there's changes like the wind with anything to do with self-employed and employed, especially self-employed. Always check it out of what the current situation is in your country in terms of having people self-employed and working for themselves. When it's employed, it's very, very different. It's easier with employed, to be quite honest. But so always be forward thinking and thinking of packages. How can I make use of my better team? How I can give them more hours, how I can give them more responsibility. So as we come to a close today, I hope you found that really, really useful in terms of, really, I'd say, changing your mindset in terms of turnover and profit, that it isn't always about, I need to get that new kid through the door. There is so much money that I see left on the table in so many organizations that I'm like, just make that change, tweak that, do that, change this. Before you know it, they're an extra 10 grand up each month, which can be sometimes the biggest difference, whether they're scaling up to grow another business, to grow another facility. They might have been massively in the red and were looking to really make some serious changes. I've seen businesses completely save members of staff and save them, because literally they were like, I found the money now to pay them. I've seen businesses get out a big tax whenever they had big tax bill coming up, VAT, being able to find the money through holes in their business. So never leave anything unturned, because always remember, you are an entrepreneur and you are 100% solution driven. That is your main role as an entrepreneur, is to battle through challenges and to overcome them. and to really, support your team and lead the way and lead your vision. So I hope you found today's training very, very useful. As always, don't try to do everything all at once. Literally do one thing first. Do that well, then move on to the second thing. Stagger it into your business just like you would any system that you are building. Have an amazing day.